My favorites. Mm, so good. And we'll wait for your fan. Let's go over your name and just kind of let us know who you are and what business you do, and then we'll start with that.
My name is Erica Hernandez, and I actually run three small businesses here in town. So one of them is Bling Tooth 541, where I do teeth whitening and tooth gems. And I also run a small business called Sweet Tooth Lounge, where I do homemade goods, like for example, unique cookies and unique flavors, like things that we don't have in town. I like to call them like my munchy food
Mm-hmm.
because it's like munchy wise, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And then me and my husband run a little small business where it's 501 Custom CNC, and we do custom wood and neon signs. So pretty much with our CNC machine, we can kind of customize something like a logo or anything like that, and then we kind of just put like a neon sign or a neon light right around it, and then we kind of just give you guys a remote, and then you kind of go from there. It's like so different modes to pick from and things like that. So it kind of brings attention to
Cool.
your business, things
So
like that.
quite a few businesses for
Right?
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So what was it that kind of got you into like business? Like what was it that kind of started that adventure for you?
So I'm originally from Fresno, California, and so I've kind of already done kind of business wise, like just under the table type of deal. Like there's like flea markets over there, and like things that we don't really have around here, and we do like a lot of yard sales and things like that, right? So you pretty much just kind of like sell what you have, or like refurbish things and then kind of sell them back and things like that. And so I started like getting into that whole like wanting to be into the business because I'm like, well, if there's if I could do that, there's more that I can possibly do. And so after having I have three children, but after having my two recent ones back to back, I was kind of more motivated to kind of finding something that would work with our schedule. Especially when you got kids, it's a lot harder when you have like a job that you have to be there, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that kind of motivated me honestly to kind of find something, and I also wanted to bring something unique to town too because I figured I want to bring something where that's something that we don't have in town.
Right.
So that's when I
No, I
started kind of
completely
thinking,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, I completely because that's the same thing with Motowns was it was a unique thing that really just isn't here and nobody does it, and it's the same concept. I have a family, um, and freedom is super important to me as far as being able to take time to spend with my family and go to events and be there. I was missing a lot of my son's younger years just because I was constantly working, and so and I work a lot now, but I have much more control over it. I can close for a day or
Your own schedule.
make my own schedule so that I
Right.
can be there for my family, just like graduation. I'm taking half that day off so that I can go see my little sister graduating high school. You know,
That's the beauty about it.
so
Yeah.
it's um it's definitely nice. It's both. I think we can both agree here that it's both hard and easy to start a business. I know that sounds very odd, but like the hard part is definitely kind of like making that leap. But once you make that leap and you really find something, um, the world kind of comes to you a little bit, and you kind of find your thing, and for example, I mean, opening up the pizzeria, it took me that it took a leap, and it took a couple $1,000, you know. And I think people have it in their head that they need you know hundreds of thousands of dollars to
Kind of start
to
something.
start something, and that's not necessarily true. You can find outlets, where you can start something nice and small, and it's about asking. And I think a lot of people have a lot of fear with that
Right.
because a lot of people have a fear about asking for any sort of help for the most part. You know
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
And you know what? That's just kind of how a lot of us were raised, right?
Yeah,
You got to kind of tough it out. But I think people need to realize that it's all right. It's all right to ask,
exactly.
because I never would have found this spot if I wouldn't have, asked and been like, hey, is this something you'd be interested in letting me do? and kind of getting out of my comfort zone, you know. And so, and it
Very
afforded
true.
me this opportunity to do this, which has grown into what it is.
Right.
And it sounds like you're doing pretty good. I was looking into you and stuff, and it looked like you're kind of crushing it there. You got 3 businesses, which is awesome. So
Yeah,
that's
just
always
trying
that's
to push
always
them out
cool.
there.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I think
absolutely.
that's the hardest part, especially not being from from Klamath Falls. I'm from Fresno, California, like I said, and so I don't have like any family or at the time any friends when when we first moved here and stuff. So
Hmm.
it's like it's a lot harder because I feel like when you're from here, you kind of have that family backup and like word of mouth type of deal,
Right.
and starting from scratch is definitely I feel like the hardest.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, but
Yeah. New place, you're getting your
yeah,
name out there. Yeah.
yeah. But you just got to keep pushing it. You got to keep pushing and keep hustling. That's like the only thing you could
It's all
do.
about the grind, bro.
Right,
It's
definitely,
all about
yes.
the grind.
Wake up and just get grinding right,
That's
right
right.
to it. Yep.
That's right.
There's something where I have like it's like my little saying for my baking business, which is like the wake and bake. Because honestly, sometimes like a lot of people have a lot of judgment towards certain things, but I feel like I have to do certain things to kind of be a little unique.
Hmm.
And it's crazy from being from where I'm from and everything. Then I come here and a lot of people accepting, just who I am personally, like just without no judgment.
Yeah.
And I love that because it makes I'm able to be who I am,
Right.
be able to bring to town things and things like that. That it's kind of hard, in other places when
Right.
you say you got your family and things like that, but over here you can actually be yourself and hey, I do this, I do that, and people are like always open to it.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
definitely.
And I think one of the cool things about smaller businesses, especially family-run ones like us, where they're owner-operated, things like that, or even if businesses started off that way, your business is like a piece of you.
Yeah.
It's very much a piece of your personality.
Yes,
Your
definitely.
personality comes out in the product that you do, and when you wake up every morning and you're putting yourself out there like that, it can be pretty intense. You're really stepping out of most people's comfort zone. Most people are stepping much out of their comfort zone to open up a business. And I think it's super commendable for one, which is another, which is a big reason I wanted to do this in the first place, as far as the proofing room goes, um, because I think business owners get kind of a bad rap sometimes. I think people tend to think that um, that we don't care about our staff or our employees, or that we only care about like our bottom dollar. And I also think that we have a bad rep because a lot of people tend to think that business owners are like we're just like these wealthy people running around with just we
Yeah.
make our business makes all of this money and we just take all of it. And it's like, I've I mean, I've had businesses where I do make good money, but I have staff members who make more than me technically on an hourly rate. You know, and
Yeah.
and and that's because one of my big belief systems is take care of your staff and your business will thrive. You know, you gotta make sure that you're taking care of your people, and I I started a business because I was I was tired of working for people, and 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 basically it's funny. It's actually a story that I tell about it. Is the first time it happened was I was working in Ashland, and I was working for a place called the Brick Room. It's an amazing restaurant. I love the people there. I love the owners as well. There was no I didn't dislike anything about it, but I remember pulling up in my like 1998 Astro van and
Really.
getting out of my car to work a huge, I was working like a 13 hour. I was doing like a huge shift in the summer that year, and I had just been kicking our butts. And my boss, the owner of the restaurant, um, a young guy, um, kind of rolled up in his like super nice Porsche, and he, there was no hate towards it. The grind is the grind, but I just kind of looked at it and I was like, man, I'm obviously in the
Motivated.
wrong. I'm obviously in the wrong position when it comes to this. And I was like, I think it's time for me to do me. And and so I branched out and started my own business. And, doing that and not really knowing, you know, it's kind of like this mentality of, like when people are like, oh, I have brothers and sisters, so I totally know what it's like to have a kid. And it's like, okay, not really.
Yeah.
It's a lot different
Wait
than you
till you have
think.
one. Yeah.
It's the same thing with a business. You think, oh, I've worked in the restaurant business my whole life, so it'll be super easy for me to open one. And I had that thought process. And so when I did open my first one, it was riddled with failure. It was. And I am not a person who thinks that failure is bad. I think we learn from it and we do better. And so I will never let somebody put me down for my failures, and I'll never put somebody else down for theirs. Failure is important, especially in the business world. And so um, I think one of my first tips that I would say is if you are in the process of trying to start a business or wanting to start a business, um, kind of step back a little bit, because most people have ego, and ego is important. It really is. You have to have faith in yourself, and you have to have faith in your product, and you have to like know that it's going to work. But I also think it's important to kind of step back from it a little bit and really examine it and be like, okay, but like what do I actually know about this process? And what can I learn? You know, and it can alleviate a lot of those early mistakes. And I'm not saying that making mistakes is bad, because it's definitely not,
Right.
but it's awesome to make mistakes, because once again, it gives you an opportunity to learn from that and to grow from that. Um, and so that's like my first kind of like piece of advice. So what's something that you would like to kind of like tell somebody who's either trying to start up a business, even something close to what you do, or just their own thing? What's something that you would kind of say?
So, from my heart, I would say just do it. I mean, what's stopping you? I know there's always excuses, but honestly, just do it because you'll look back. I know you probably hear this a lot. You'll look back and then, but it's the truth. You'll look back and then you'll be like, wow, I should have started this sooner. And, it's something that I would always tell people just do it. Don't even waste no time. Just figure it out, find out, get to it, find information. There's a lot of good information out there nowadays when you got YouTube, you got TikTok, you got all these, platforms that are
Yeah.
able to give you all the information that you could possibly need. And it's just do it. And if you feel like you don't have the money for it, I mean, like you said, just ask family members, hey, would you mind investing in me? Just because I see this vision. And just be a person of your word and pay your dues when the time comes. But there's ways around it. There's ways around it. Like when I started my baking business, um I started it and I honestly did not think that it was going to get me a lot of customers or anything like that. I thought it was just going to be something fun,
Something fun that you just kind
yeah.
of did.
And I had so much support from the community, from my clients, from my Bloom 2541 clients and things like that. And I had a lot of support, so therefore it motivated me to continue to want to learn to do, bring new recipes, new flavors, new things to town that nobody has. Like I said, just because of the fact that I figured, why not bring something to Klamath and have people try it, that we
Yeah,
don't have.
absolutely.
So I have a lot of unique flavors. I don't even know where to start, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Um, I mean, I can throw a few out there. So, like for my cookies, I do a lot of them. I honestly can't even think of one, to be honest. But I do, like, for example, like the mud cake cookies with like one of those little gummy worms on the top. Then
Hmm.
I do a bunch of like Mexican version ones, like for example, like the mazapan, which is like it's like a little Mexican treat. I don't know how
And
to
it tastes
describe
like
that
peanut
either.
butter, right?
Yeah, it tastes like
Yeah,
peanut
yeah.
butter. And so I pretty much put that into my cookies and things
Hmm.
like that, give it that flavor.
I love
Um,
that stuff.
little gancitos, which is also like another Mexican little pastry.
Hmm.
Put those on top, mix it up with the cookie.
Awesome. So you're also adding a lot of culture.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I figured because in town it's really hard to come by and kind of find those unique flavors.
Hmm.
From Fresno, California, where I'm from, you can find anything. You can literally
Right.
go and you can find any flavor, any treat that you're craving, they'll have
You'll
it. Like,
find it.
yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And so I figured, I want to do the same thing and bring it over here into town and kind of give people, that
Absolutely.
extra sweet tooth.
Absolutely. One
Yeah.
hundred percent. 100%. I like the remark there about the sweet tooth
Yeah,
because you're
definitely.
you're
Yeah,
blank.
my little bling tooth, sweet tooth.
Let's transition more into like you
Yeah.
and what you like to do and stuff,
Okay.
and kind of get to know who
Who I am.
you are,
Yeah,
so
right.
that people can kind of put a face and a person to the
To the name.
business. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
definitely.
let's just start with maybe talking about a little bit about your family, you know, and we'll just kind of start from that
All right.
if you want. So let's for example, like I'll start right. So I am married with my lovely, beautiful wife Amber, who actually works here in town. She works at the Coop
Okay.
Lounge. If you're ever interested to go and see her, she loves it when customers come in and talk about the pizza
All
place.
right.
She's super proud of it. She loves that I did this. She's kind of one of the biggest reasons that I did do it. She's the one
You're
that
a
kind
big
of
supporter,
convinced
right?
me to do it. Because opening up a pizzeria in a town that's got like five of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was. I was
So,
like, I don't know if I should do that. She was like, you definitely should. So that was a big one. And then I also have my son Rowan. He is the light of my life for sure, and he's another ginormous pizza advocate.
all
And
right.
so he loves that Daddy owns a pizza place, because he gets tons of free pizza
Your
all
pizza,
the
right?
time.
Right. Yeah,
so
definitely.
family is a super important piece of my puzzle when it came to the business. Um, we also have an awesome dog named Bandit. He's a border collie, and he's the shit. you know. So so there we go. I mean, let's get some of your let's hear about your family a little bit.
All
See what you
right.
got going on.
So, I'm married. Been
Okay.
married for 13 years with my husband.
Okay.
We have three children, all girls,
Mm-hmm.
ranging from 12 years old all the way to three. So I have a 12-year-old, and then I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So those
Nice.
they keep me pretty busy.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Um, and we have one little dog named Gizmo.
Nice. Gizmo. That's a dub
Yeah.
name.
Just because he's like a little papillon. His little ears kind of look a little
Right.
Gizmo. Yeah.
That's a very dog name,
Right.
Gizmo. I dig it. I dig it for sure.
Right.
So, I mean, just talking to you, you seem like a really genuine person, and it's awesome getting to hear your story and stuff.
Oh, honestly, I took a few bites because I didn't want to have them munching
Yeah,
all up my
absolutely.
on my
Right.
microphone, but they are so good. It's just so
You brought your
perfect.
you brought your friend today.
I did
How's she
actually.
feeling over there? Right,
Yeah.
right. It's very different.
We actually came on Thursday
Oh
to
no.
try it, and we called and you were
I was
actually
down in San Francisco.
right.
Yeah. It
But
was
we
like a
were
spur of the moment thing. Yeah, I went, which is another reason why it's awesome owning a business.
exactly.
I understand that there are some people out there that get irritated with that.
But you know
They
what?
do. They get irritated because you closed, and I definitely understand that because consistency is important. Um, but it's tough. It's tough for family, for owner operated businesses specifically. It's funny because I always have people who are like, "Well, don't you just hire people?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, for sure. Let me
Right.
just
It's not
let me
that
just do
easy.
that."
Yes.
It's not that it's like super difficult to hire people, and hiring people is like a super good investment for your business. But you also want to make sure, especially now, especially me, specifically, I like to pay people. I wouldn't say a livable wage because like people nowadays, we understand that a livable wage is like $25 an hour. I can't afford to do that, but I like to pay people much better than minimum wage, and so when it comes to hiring, I want to make sure that I'm in a position where I can pay people a very decent wage before I hire them. And if that means that I have to own or operate for a little while before I can get there, then I'm okay with that. Because I would much rather my employees be able to come to work and get like a decent paycheck that they can actually take home and like take care of their family with. Because a lot of these places they do minimum wage, and let's be honest here, minimum wage work does not pay bills.
No,
It just
it does,
doesn't. It
unfortunately.
barely even makes a dent. And so, you know, that's kind of my thing. And so, unfortunately, it does suck that I have to close sometimes, but I think you understand it for
Oh,
sure.
definitely, yeah.
I mean, do
But
you have any staff or
um,
employees who
so
you
no, actually, so I
You're the same way?
yeah, so I actually work for at a salon. I work at Pretty Drama Salon, that which is downtown, and so I pretty much just kind of rent my little station right
Oh yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
and kind of just kind of have my clients come on through, and
So how does that work? Because like for example, I have a couple buddies that are like tattoo artists, and they hate that system. They hate the by the job system. Is that how salons work too? Is it by the job, or is it just like by like you rent the whole space for a flat rate and then you just however many you use, you're good?
yeah. So what I do is every week I just pay a certain amount for my rent, and
Nice,
that's pretty much it. It kind of just
cool,
depends on how much money you make. Your clients and things like that's kind of on you. Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so that's definitely better than the
Yes,
tattoo thing.
definitely.
Because like my buddies, they have like this issue with it because it's kind of different where like they have to pay by the job. So like the business gets a percentage of the job for the space that they rent, and it's kind of jank in that sense. Because like
Yeah.
you know, the bigger the job, you'd be stoked. You'd be like, oh, I'm getting more money for this big job. But then the building's like, yeah, well, we need like 10 or 15% or whatever the number is. They didn't tell me exactly because it's their funds, not mine.
Right.
But I think it would be better scenario if it was more like that,
Oh,
where it was like a
definitely.
rented space. Yeah. So what about your bakery? Where
Yeah.
where's that located?
So that's actually out of like my house. So
Oh,
I just
nice.
pretty much just kind of bake them
You like
there.
a
But
cottage
yeah,
rule or
the
whatever?
cottage laws, yeah, for
Yeah.
the Oregon. So I pretty much just follow those, and then I actually sell my cookies at Pretty Drama Salon. I have like a little display
Mhm.
for them, and so I sell them at both locations because Pretty Drama just opened up two
Oh yeah.
locations,
Yeah.
one on Sixth Street and we have the one downtown.
Cool.
And so I pretty much sell them there, and then I also sell them at the Bubble Break, Boba
Mm.
Shop, and yeah, and
Totally.
at Sarah Balla's Lash Place as well. So I pretty much just bake them, or like I also was doing some chocolate bars and things like that. So
Oh, nice.
bake them, do them, and then kind of go and put them out,
You ever thought
to the
about the
world.
farmers market?
I have actually,
Dude,
yes.
I'll tell you what. I love the farmers market. I go every couple. I'll go a couple times because I'll just get up and do it. But I am so ingrained in. So I worked kitchens my whole life, and I always worked night shifts. So for like my entire life, I have like always been like, you know,
Your
I work
schedule's off.
until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I'm in bed by like 4, and I sleep. And so like now it's just like ingrained in me. I just waking
Makes
up
sense.
early just kicks my butt. And I try really hard to, especially being like a business owner. You never really have a day off.
Never.
And so
Never.
the more hours you can kind of squeeze out of a day is important. So like I tend to get up around like 9 o'clock. I try so hard to wake up earlier than that. It's just so rough. I get up and I help get my son ready for school and stuff, and then he's off to school, and then by that time, yeah, it's like 8:39. I'm usually up around 7, but it's my body hates it. My body hates it.
You're just used to the yeah.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
so I'm
That and
super
I
used to
could
the night owl.
definitely understand because my husband's going through that right now.
Yeah,
He's been working night shifts for quite a while now,
yeah.
so it's been like
It's
it's
tough,
been
dude.
crazy.
It's
Yeah,
tough. It really changes
it
it. It
changes
changes it up
everything.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm telling you what, the farmers market would probably be pretty sick. I love going down there too.